My wife cheated with my cousin and had a baby. My entire family knew. They hid it from me for 20 years. And now that I've made something of myself, they want back into my life like nothing happened. Let me take you back. I'm 44 now, married to my current wife for 10 years. We have a wonderful 8-year-old son. Life is calm, steady, successful. But that wasn't always the case. Before this chapter, I was married to someone I thought would be my forever Amy. We were childhood sweethearts, inseparable since middle school. We got married fresh out of college when we both had stable jobs. At first, everything felt perfect. She was my best friend, my partner, my anchor, but then things shifted. I don't even remember when it started feeling off, just a sense that she wasn't really there anymore. She was distant, cold. My efforts to reconnect were met with indifference. Then, just a few weeks before our 3rd wedding anniversary, she handed me divorce papers like they meant nothing. No big fight, no explanation, just, "I'm not in love with you anymore." I was shattered. I begged her for clarity, for something more than that flimsy excuse, but she gave me nothing. No tears, no regrets, just silence. So I signed the papers. What else could I do? We didn't have much in terms of shared assets, so the divorce itself was quick, but the pain lingered. And then came the part that broke me even more. My own family turned their backs on me. Around the time of the divorce, they just vanished. No calls, no visits. I reached out multiple times, but I was met with blocked numbers, unanswered texts, slammed doors. Even when I showed up at their homes, they refused to let me in. Imagine that, going through the worst emotional collapse of your life, and the people you expect to lean on disappear without a trace. I spiraled, quit my job, shut myself in for months. For a while, I was just existing, broken, depressed, numb. If it weren't for my friends, I don't know where I'd be. They lifted me up, reminded me I still had a future to build. I started to dream again, specifically about owning a restaurant. It was something I had shelved during my marriage to Amy, always thinking I needed to be practical. But now I had nothing left to lose. With the help of some friends, I pitched my idea to investors. I even named the place using a suggestion my parents had once made, back when we actually talked. The irony wasn't lost on me. It took 4 long years, but the restaurant finally opened. 2 years later, I met someone new, my now wife. She told me she loved my restaurant at a social event we both attended. I don't know what it was, her warmth, her kindness, or just the fact that she saw something in me. But we started talking, and 3 years later, I proposed. We now have a son and a peaceful life I fought hard to build. That little restaurant grew beyond my wildest dreams. 1 location became 2, then 5. Now, I'm the CEO of a hospitality company that owns restaurants and hotels all over the state, and we're still expanding. Recently, a local TV station interviewed me about my journey. I didn't think much of it. It aired on a moderately popular channel. I talked about the restaurant, my family, and how far I'd come. I mentioned my wife and son, and how their love had been my compass through everything. That interview, it changed everything, because somehow my family saw it. 3 days ago, they showed up at my office. At first, when my receptionist told me your family is here, I assumed she meant my wife and kid, which was odd, since my son was in school and my wife at work. Then she said the names my parents, my sister. I froze. I hadn't seen or heard from them in over 2 decades. What did they want? Why, now I told my receptionist to ask them to leave. I wasn't ready. But they made a scene. Loud voices, demands. It was embarrassing. So I stepped out. There they were, smiling, acting like no time had passed, praising me for my success, telling me how proud they were, like we were just catching up after a holiday trip or something. They told me they had seen the interview, that they missed me, that they wanted to meet their grandson. I almost laughed. Now they care. Then they turned the blame on me, said I should have tried harder to stay in touch after the divorce, that I had given up on them. That's when I knew I needed answers, real ones. So instead of walking away, I sat down with them in the lobby and said, "Talk." And they did. They told me Amy had cheated on me with my cousin, Carl. My stomach dropped. Carl, the one relative I couldn't stand growing up, entitled, arrogant, the golden child because his mom died when he was a baby. Everyone excused his behavior because of his loss. He was never held accountable, ever. Turns out, Amy and Carl had an affair while I was still married to her. My parents knew. My sister knew, and they helped her hide it. Why? Because Carl's dad, my uncle, was also my father's boss. He founded the family business. My parents were terrified of upsetting him. So when Carl decided he wanted Amy, and Amy went along with it, they stood by him. They chose them over me. They didn't even flinch when they were told not to talk to me again. Amy had gotten pregnant, and they didn't want to risk losing access to the baby. They let me walk away from my own child without ever knowing. They told me Amy moved away and gave birth to a daughter, now nearly 20. That girl believes Carl is her real dad. My family kept that secret for 20 years. They watched me suffer. They let me feel abandoned. They pretended I didn't exist. And now they want to be part of my life. They said they regretted it, that they missed me, that they wanted to reconnect. I stood up. I told them to leave. I wasn't ready for forgiveness. Not now. Maybe not ever. But they wouldn't let it go. They said I owed them, that they helped me become who I am. My sister even claimed credit for my success because she once suggested the restaurant's name. I laughed, the kind of laugh that comes from disbelief. Then I called security. As they were escorted out, they yelled about how hard it had been for them, that they had no choice. But I know better. They had every choice, and they chose to betray me. They chose Carl. They chose silence. Now, they can live with that. They've been hovering outside my workplace like shadows waiting, watching, hoping I'll stop the car and talk to them. I don't. I drive right past, every single time, and honestly, a part of me feels a flicker of pity. They look worn down, desperate. But then I remember what they did, what they hid, and that pity turns into something colder, something firmer. I've talked this over with my wife more than once now. We both know there's one person I can't ignore in all this mess, my daughter, who I didn't even know existed until just days ago. And now we're stuck between two impossible choices: pretend she doesn't exist, or try to reach out and face the emotional storm that follows. My wife has been so patient through all of this. She's even suggested I invite my family over to talk to clear the air, heal the wound, and move on. She thinks it might release some of the poison that's been festering inside me. But me, I'm not ready. Maybe I never will be. I don't have the bandwidth to sit across from people who destroyed my world and listen to them justify it. So, for now, we've decided to ignore them. And, thankfully, they've stopped showing up at my office. Maybe they got tired, or maybe security scared them off. Either way, the silence is a relief. And with that silence came clarity. I realized the only reason I felt guilt was because of their presence. Once they were gone, the guilt disappeared too. They failed me. As parents, as family, no apology, no matter how heartfelt, can undo that. So I stopped blocking their messages, let them waste their time. I'll never answer, but the bigger issue is still looming: my daughter. We know her name. We know where she goes to college. My assistant found her social media. But what do I do with that? How do you message someone and say, "Hey, I'm the dad you never knew existed"? I can't exactly show up at Amy's doorstep demanding answers or access. My daughter is 20. She's her own person now, and, frankly, after what Amy did, I have no desire to see that woman ever again. Still, my daughter is innocent in all of this. She was lied to, too. So we asked ourselves, do we reach out? The answer came in the form of a gut punch. We had to. Waiting for the right time was a fantasy. There was no good time to break someone's world apart. So we did it. We messaged her on Instagram. I wrote the most careful, respectful message I could. I told her who I was. I told her I didn't want to cause her pain, but I needed her to know the truth. Then we waited. Days passed. Then a week. Then 2. And just as I started to wonder if she'd seen it, she responded. She had talked to Amy, and she had confirmed it. I am her biological father. She was shocked. Of course she was. She had believed for 20 years that Carl was her dad. And now, out of nowhere, that truth is ripped away and replaced by me. But then she wrote the words I never thought I'd see. I want to meet you. She didn't have the money to travel, and she wasn't talking to anyone in her family right now. So we're flying out to her this weekend. She didn't say much about the conversation with Amy, other than the fact that Amy initially denied everything, then admitted it. I haven't heard from Amy directly, and I hope I never do. But the moment my family found out I'd contacted my daughter, they broke their one last message promise and started reaching out again. My uncle furious, my parents panicking, my dad begged me to clear their names, insisting they weren't the ones who told me. It's pathetic, really, watching grown adults scramble to save their image after 2 decades of silence. They're more concerned about my uncle's wrath than they ever were about my pain, but I don't care. Not anymore. They stole 20 years from me. 20 years I could have had with my daughter. This is the least they deserve. Then came the day I never thought I'd live to see I met my daughter. We hugged, we cried, we laughed. It was awkward. It was overwhelming, but it was beautiful. Despite everything, despite being raised by Amy and Carl, she turned out to be this brilliant, warm, and remarkably self-aware young woman. She told me she didn't care what her parents thought anymore, that now she knew the truth. She wanted to know me. She's not cutting Amy and Carl out completely. She's not ready for that. But she is stepping away for now to figure things out. I respect that. We talked for hours. She met my wife and her half-brother. They got along surprisingly well. Over dinner, we found out that my parents, her so-called grandparents, had been keeping in touch with her all this time. She always thought it was weird how affectionate they were, considering they weren't blood relatives. Now, she understands why. She's angry, confused, lost, and she has every right to be. I can relate to her pain, but I can't fix it for her. All I can do is be here now, and try to be the father she was denied. But still something beautiful is forming. We're taking it slow, but we're building something real. As for the rest of the family, let them rage. Let them drown in their own guilt. I'm done. This moment right here, seeing my daughter smile, hearing her laugh, watching her bond with her little brother is all I ever needed. No amount of betrayal can take this away from me now. And for that, I am grateful. This story reveals a painful yet powerful lesson about betrayal, resilience, and the long, winding road to healing. At its core, it reminds us that the people we expect to love and protect us the most, our family, can sometimes be the ones who hurt us the deepest. The protagonist's journey underscores how silence, deception, and the fear of conflict can destroy relationships, not just for a moment but for decades. But it also shows that healing is still possible, even after years of separation and heartbreak. Sometimes, it takes walking away from toxic ties to protect your peace. True strength isn't just about forgiving others, it's about recognizing when you need to set boundaries to preserve your emotional well-being. And yet, even in the wreckage, there can be redemption. The protagonist's choice to reach out to the daughter he never knew reflects the courage to embrace vulnerability and to right a wrong, even if it wasn't his fault to begin with. It teaches us that love isn't defined solely by blood or time. It's about showing up when it matters most. The past can't be changed, but the future can still be rewritten. In life, we may not get the closure we crave from those who've wronged us, but we can choose to create new beginnings from the ashes. The truth has a way of surfacing, no matter how deeply it's buried. And while confronting it can be painful, it often leads to the freedom we need to grow. Let this be a reminder. Protect your peace. Honor your truth. And don't let the people who abandoned you keep you from embracing the love and connections that still await. Sometimes, the family we build is more valuable than the one we were born into. Thanks for watching this powerful story of betrayal, resilience, and redemption. If you found value in the emotions, lessons, or journey shared today, please comment one down below to let us know you're with us. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another heartfelt story. And if this video moved you or reminded you of something personal, share it with your friends or family. You never know who might need to hear it. Lastly, we'd love to hear from you. How did this story make you feel? Were you shocked, inspired, angry, hopeful? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one. Thank you for being part of this community.